We've all experienced this dilemma before. You don't have plans for dinner. You forgot to thaw the meat that's in the freezer. What do? We have an answer for this problem, and she is the creator of the answer. She is Heidi Meyer, and she joins us. Heidi, first of all, welcome to Louisville, Kentucky via Zoom.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, tell us about this product, because I think we've all been there before. No plans for dinner. We forgot to thaw the meat, but you have an answer, don't you?
That's right. Yeah, my husband and I had that exact problem you're talking about. An hour before dinner, we just look at each other and say, what are we going to do for dinner? Which is funny because we know we're going to have dinner, and why we don't always have a plan is sometimes a mystery. And if you start with this frozen block of meat, it's frustrating, it's messy, and it's time-consuming. And we thought, what if we could have ground beef, a family favorite, at the ready, whenever we wanted it, with no thawing or planning ahead. And that was the inspiration for pound of ground crumbles. So it's simply 100% natural ground beef. It's simply been quick frozen in small pieces because small things cook faster than big things. So you buy it frozen, you store it frozen, and it cooks from frozen in less than 10 minutes.
So I want to repeat the name of the product, Pound of Ground Crumbles. I think it's an innovative idea, and I think it's going to help a lot of us parents, you know, for those times when we're not so prepared, and we still get a delicious meal. So tell us about exactly how it works, how it tastes. Talk a little bit about this product, if you would, Heidi.
You bet. Yeah, well, since it's just plain ground beef that's been quick frozen, it tastes delicious because it tastes like ground beef. So yeah, you just open a package. Again, you keep it in the freezer. I just have a pan, and you pour it in the pan. I think you can probably hear my sizzle a little bit. Cover it, and it's that simple. It cooks from frozen in under 10 minutes. We have 3 varieties available. So we have original, which is what I just made. I think of it more like a taco size. We have hearty size pieces, which are bigger pieces, so maybe more for a pasta or chili, or I'll tell you, my husband just likes the bigger pieces better. And then my favorite is the with onions. So it has pre-diced onions already in it, and the onions cook at the same rate as the ground beef. So you pour it in, and you know that can be for certain recipes where you like things with onions.
So Heidi, just to be clear, Pound of Ground Crumbles, unlike usually when you get ground beef and it's frozen, it all bonds together. These are crumbles that cook very quickly. So perhaps you can also show us a recipe or something that you can cook up, maybe a suggestion of yours?
Yeah, that's right. Well, in our household, any night can be taco night, of course, because it cooks up quickly, and I always am going to have a taco packet. And plenty of things you have on hand will make a bunch of recipes. You know, we have some on our website, but you could probably make chilies, sloppy joe, spaghetti, casseroles with things you have on hand. Today I have made up a 1 skillet beef stroganoff. So it uses the pound of ground. I use the one with onions, and I just poured in some beef broth and some egg noodles, cooked it all up in the pan, and then you just have to add, you know, mushrooms and some sour cream, salt and pepper, stir it up, and you have a really simple 1 skillet meal for a busy weeknight. And that's the great thing of always having, you know, on-hand ingredients and now ground beef at the ready.
I'm curious, Heidi, when you first created Pound of Ground Crumbles, when you and your husband first created this, I'm sure you had to test it a little bit, maybe with neighbors, friends, family. What kind of reviews are you receiving?
Yeah, so we did start making samples in our kitchen, giving it to friends and neighbors. We didn't really tell them it was our idea exactly because we wanted them to be honest, and we got great feedback. You know, I actually can't imagine not having it in the freezer at this point because it's just so nice. You know, you can still buy what you normally would for earlier in the week, and just to have that in the back burner, if you will, is always a lifesaver for us.
Well, you mentioned the tacos, which I think is a natural, but tell me about some of the creative recipes that perhaps you've come up with, or maybe some of the folks who have bought your product have come up with. Let's talk a little bit more about those, because I think it really opens up, you know, because it happens so quickly and everything cooks so quickly, it opens up for folks who like to get creative to do just that.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about ground beef is you can add it to so many things. So like a bolognese that can simmer for a while. You can do all sorts of casseroles. Tater tot casserole is one of my favorite, or like a Tex-Mex lasagna or a real lasagna are great ideas to make with, once the ground beef is ready, it's just magical how it can be tacos one day, spaghetti the next, and, knowing the meat itself cooks in less than 10 minutes, the ideas are endless.
Pound of ground crumbles. Once again, we highly recommend it. I'm curious, Heidi, are we going to take this a step further? Maybe pound of ground sausage, pound of ground chicken, whatever the case may be, or are we going to stick with the ground beef?
I like the way you think. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. I like that. Okay, so for folks who are looking for pound of ground crumbles and they'd like to purchase your product, they like the sound of it, where can they go to find it? Can they go to the website to learn more about it?
Absolutely. On the website, you can learn more about the product. And there's also a store finder, but we're available at Kroger, Meyer, Crossroads IGA, Priceless Foods, and Save-A-Lot. And we're usually by the beef patties.
Okay, right now I'm picturing the little ones like tugging at you or your husband and saying, can you fix this? Can you do this? What are some of the favorite kid recipes that you've discovered?
Yeah, my kids, like I said, tacos really any night, but also Sloppy Joe's has been a big favorite for my son in particular. He'd have that any night. And I've taken to just freezing buns, so I have that on hand too.
Well, Heidi, I have to tell you, I'm very excited about your product. Congratulations to you and your husband. And I hate to be repetitive, but I think it's important, if you would, repeat for folks who are watching, for our viewers, where can they find Pound of Ground Crumbles?
Yeah, we're available at Kroger, Meyer, Crossroads IGA, Priceless Foods, and Save-A-Lot. And we do have a store finder on our website, which is poundofground.com.
All right, poundofground.com. Heidi Meyer, thank you again for all of your time and expertise. And again, congratulations on your creativity.
Thank you.
All righty. Once again, Pound of Ground Crumbles. We'll take a little bit of a break here, and then we'll be right back because I'm hungry. I got to rush to the kitchen. We'll be right back on Wade Listens.